This episode of Good News in Automotive Repair is sponsored by AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching. So is it Tenise?
Yes, Tenise.
Tenise Chapman.
Correct.
Okay. And you were saying, what does the Camp Drive stand for on the logo behind me?
So DRIVE stands for determination, resourcefulness, innovation, vision, and enthusiasm.
How did this start?
So the Camp Drive or the words behind Camp Drive?
What do you think is more important to share first?
So I think that the thought process behind Camp Drive probably is more important.
Okay.
My sister and I both grew up playing sports, and there was always a sports camp in the summer for you to go attend, whether it was basketball, golf, football. And there wasn't anything for kids that maybe weren't athletic. And then we all have heard that there is a shortage in the industry of technicians, and we're trying to figure out how to fix that. And I just kind of thought, why can't we create something where kids can come in and they can have hands-on and they can see what it's like to be an automotive technician and see what a cool job it is and a cool industry. And that's kind of where Camp Drive kind of got started, I guess.
Are kids interested?
Yes. So this, we just finished our second year of Camp Drive. So we're going to be going into our third for 2025. And the first year we capped it at 25 kids because we didn't really know what to expect. And I had 57 kids sign up.
Ooh.
And that's just from our local community. So this last year we increased the enrollment to 40 kids and I had 60 kids sign up. So.
And you're in South Dakota?
Correct. Rapid City, South Dakota.
So what's the closest event organization that you found that does stuff like this?
I haven't found anybody that does anything like this yet. There's, I think Lucas Underwood has something kind of similar, but his is more like in the evenings, several nights a week. Ours is strictly a camp. It's a day and a half, a Friday, half a day, Saturday. These kids come in and we treat it exactly like you would if you were going to summer camp.
And, because, we talk about this in the automotive industry about like a technician shortage or just need for more technicians or better training. And so stuff like this is really important.
Yeah.
But nobody does it. Why do you think that is?
Honestly,
it's hard, or just because they're afraid of more work? I don't know.
Honestly, I think that it's a huge undertaking, and we shut down for 2 entire days. My shop does, and my staff all teaches a session. So we have 8 hands-on sessions that range from welding to alignments to brakes to electrical with like oscilloscopes. And each one of my guys, my techs, they teach a session. And so you have to have buy-in from your staff. You have to, because all my guys, they love it. They created their own outlines, their own content. So that's probably and you have to have the facility to host it as well. I mean, we're blessed that we have a big enough area, indoor and outdoor space, that we are able to host these 40 kids for a day and a half.
Is it worth it?
100%. I'm going to get teary-eyed here. If you ask my guys their favorite thing that we do at Black Hills Tire, it's Camp Drive. It is. These kids that come in, their ages 12 to 15, and they might not have anybody that they look up to. And after camp for 2 weeks, I have them coming into my shop and they're like, is Rylan here? Is Adrian here? I met them at Camp Drive and I want to say hi and tell them that I bought a welding mask now because I'm going to go try to be a welder with my dad or my grandpa. I mean, it's just the coolest thing. My husband, Weston, was walking around just kind of checking on all the kids, and these 2 kids didn't know he was standing there. And this one kid goes, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the other kid goes, I want to do this, and I want to work at Black Hills Tire. And they're 13. Like, it's just the coolest thing.
Do you guys do apprenticeships?
So we do. So we're very lucky. We have a local community college in town that has a 2-year automotive program. And so they help us with Camp Drive. They lend us a lot of equipment so we can do the engine on the run stand and all that. But we send kids through that 2-year program. There's this, it's called the Build Dakota Scholarship. And so our state has determined what kind of high need industry jobs are, such as carpenters, plumbers, nurses. And the state of South Dakota, our state, will pay for half of that student's tuition for the 2 years. And then an industry partner will pay the other half. So Black Hills Tire is an industry partner.
Oh,
And so
wow.
we pay half of their tuition.
Hey, sorry to cut in real quick, but this podcast, Good News in Auto Repair, is super important for the industry to share what people are doing behind the scenes to impact their communities, to impact the next generation. And well, today's podcast is kind of in both of those with Black Hills Tire and Camp Drive. But I got to tell you, good news, changing the industry is not possible without our partners. And so I want to say thanks to AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching and Chris Cotton and his work to help coach repair shop owners on how to run their business. He's a former shop owner, if you didn't know, but he also cares about the good things that happen behind the scenes. He's involved with them as well. And so he's behind this podcast. And if you have a second, if you're a repair shop owner and you have questions about how to do your taxes, how to hire, fire, how to find a good software to help run your business, Chris has some great advice from his coaches. It's one-on-one coaching that he gets to know you, your staff, and cares about what's going on in your business. So check him out. Link in the show notes, AutoFix, Auto Shop Coaching, and Chris Cotton.
The state pays the other half. They have to keep a certain GPA. And once they graduate, they have to stay in the state of South Dakota in that industry for 3 years. And then that debt is forgiven to them. So I think it ends up being right now after because they get a set of Snap-on tools and a toolbox and everything. I think it ends up being about $35,000 that they're able to graduate debt-free with.
Wow.
So we are on our 7th kid that we're sponsoring this year for that. We've done one every year, but this year we did 2. So
whose idea was Black Hills Tire? Or no, not Black Hills Tire, but Camp Drive.
Camp Drive, that was mine. Weston's was
Okay.
Black Hills Tire. I was Camp Drive.
Hey, it's a team.
Yeah.
It's a team.
Yeah. I think he gets nervous when he comes home from the shop at night and I tell him, hey, I had this idea.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yep, exactly.
But hey, if Camp Drive really turned out well, maybe these ideas are good.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So it was a few years ago. I think it was blizzarding here, and I was kind of bored and just kind of looking through some social media stuff and reading some articles online. And I saw an article of over on the eastern side of South Dakota. They were doing a leadership camp for kids, younger kids, and like just kind of what skills do a leader have, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. How come they don't do that on our side of the state? And then I kind of just took that and I thought, why don't we do a camp for kids, like automotive camp? And I just started thinking of ideas and writing it down. And by the time Weston got home that night, I had like 7 pages of things that I thought we could do and how we could get, help. Like the tool trucks, like Snap-on and Matco, they come and they park at the shop for a couple hours, and the kids get to go through their whole trucks and look at all the tools. And we've really the whole community's embraced Camp Drive, to be honest.
Wow.
So,
how large of an area?
Of our community?
Yeah.
So Rapid City, our immediate population is about 85,000. But
okay.
Then
that's pretty big area.
So then we reach out to the Black Hills though. And so I had kids that come from 200 miles away to come to camp.
Wow.
And they stay with their grandma, or because they have a grandma parent that lives here, or a friend. And then they bring a friend, and it kind of just grew from that. So
kind of seems like you're the kind of person that doesn't really take no for an answer.
That would be me. We have a joke around here that the reason that Tenise is tired all the time is because she doesn't do anything half, what I'm saying. So,
she doesn't do anything, so she's just always tired.
I'm just always tired because I do everything, to the fullest and beyond.
Yeah, you don't do anything halfway. My dad always says that.
Yeah.
Don't do anything halfway. That's like one of his biggest mottos. If you're going to start it, finish it, and not only do that, but do it right. And I'm that kind of person where I hate's a strong word, but I like to use it here. I hate excuses. And
Same.
sometimes excuses can be valid,
Yep.
but I just find so many people and so many organizations just look for excuses not to do something the right way, or look for excuses or to cut corners
Mm-hmm.
to make things easier. And I'm not against making life easier, but I, if I have something in my mind and it sounds like you're the same way, I'm going to do whatever it takes to find a way to get it done. And that I think that's kind of how this whole thing started, because so many, like you said, there's not things like this,
No,
and
and
because people accept anything as an excuse or no for an answer and don't get anything done, so that's why there's not stuff like this.
exactly. And I've had so many people that have reached out throughout the United States in the automotive industry, and they're like, how did you do this? This is so cool. And then I start telling them, and they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like,
That's
yeah,
right.
it's a lot of work, but it's so rewarding. Like, you have no idea how rewarding this is.
Mhm.
And I'm willing to share, all of our information with them, but it is a lot of work. I but again, like, you don't take no for an answer. So I was adamant. I wanted somebody motivational and cool to come talk to these kids for half an hour, 45 minutes. Because I remember being 12 to 15 and going to a summer camp. And I still remember the one person that spoke at that camp that year. And I'm old now, I'm 40. And to this day, I remember that what he said on that stage. And I wanted somebody so badly like that. And I remember Weston and I were trying to think of somebody and come up with somebody. And I said, why don't you reach out to Paul Danner, Scanner Danner? All my guys here think he is a legend. And he is. Like, just call him. And
Yeah,
Weston's like,
everybody knows
yeah,
Paul Danner.
yeah. And Weston's like, he'd never come. I'm like, it doesn't hurt to ask. And so he was kind of like, I'll have to check, I'll have to see. So then I just kept emailing him, and I sent him like all the ideas I had and the content and what we were going to do. And he emailed back and he's like, okay, I'll come, but I want a camper so I can take my son camping in the Badlands. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So we found a camper for him, and we hooked him up with Weston's pickup and sent him and his son went camping in the Badlands for a couple nights. And then he came and he spent the whole day at camp and spoke to those kids. And it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. He
And you
unfortunately
don't
couldn't.
get the unbelievable without being the person that says, I'm going to get this done no matter what. If you
Yes.
say no, like, I think even if you had the idea to do Camp Drive and then had the idea to get Paul Danner, and it seemed like it was going to be a challenge after 5 emails and you just gave up, then you wouldn't have had that unbelievable experience, right?
And he was blown away. And he's like, I want to come back every year. And unfortunately, he couldn't come this year. He had a family obligation. But he's been amazing resource, and he keeps in touch with us, and he tells everybody about it. And it's just so cool that we have that connection now with him. Like, we consider him a friend now, and it's just the neatest thing, because I didn't take
Man.
no. And that's kind of what I try to teach my younger guys that work for me, is like, don't settle. Don't settle.
Yeah, and
Just keep going.
that's a great thing to share at Camp Drive.
Mm-hmm. This
Yeah.
year we had our mayor speak, our local mayor, who's just the neatest guy. I've known him for a few years, and I thought, I'm going to have Jason come, because these kids need to see like what our local, um, you know, just kind of our local celebrities are. And he was so much fun. And I had a line of kids that wanted to shake his hand afterwards because they'd never met a mayor before. And now they think the mayor's cool. I was
Yeah.
like, that's great, and because we want these kids to think that those guys are cool. And, you know, but we, I could go on and on, but you don't know what it's like till you've been here. I tell everybody that. I was like, I can try to explain Camp Drive to you. I can show you the videos. But until you pull in and you see the huge tents we have set up, so all the kids are in shade, so we're not worried about that, or if the weather gets bad. The signs we have, all the kids smiling constantly. The amount of food I go through for teenage boys, I never imagined how
Oh,
much food you have to
I'm
have.
sure.
Just the whole thing, and all the volunteers I have throughout the community that help, because 40 kids from 12 to 15 that are boys. And we want to get some girls, and I had 2 girls this year. Hopefully I'll get more next year, but they're a lot to handle. And so you got to keep them busy. Otherwise they find trouble. And so just the amount of people we have that help us, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So they actually stay on your property?
So it's they come from 8 to 4:30 the first day, and then their parents pick them up, and then they come, or whoever, and then they come back the second day from 8
Okay.
to 11, and then at 11:30 we have all the parents and family come, and we have what we call a pit crew challenge. And so throughout their sessions that they go through at Camp Drive, they learn how to take a tire off a car, rotate it, and put it back on, and then torque it. And so we practice that multiple times, and then we have a competition. So they're all in teams, and then one of my staff is their leaders. And as soon as the leader gets the car jacked up to a safe spot, we throw down a flag, and the kids run, and they have to take the tires off, rotate them, put them back on, and then they have to get back in a box, and then the instructor can put the car down, and then the time stops. And the fastest team obviously wins. And the parents are here cheering and screaming, and it's just the coolest thing.
What's the fastest time so far?
So last year the instructors beat the kids. We had an all instructor team. It was 55 seconds.
Oh, so you had instructors too. Now that's not fair.
Well, the kids wanted that. The kids were like,
Okay.
yeah, and that was fun. So we had 55 seconds. That was the winning team. But my
55
guys were
seconds? No, that's just one tire.
two. They rotate two.
Two? 55
Yeah.
seconds.
Yes,
You have this on video.
I do.
Wow, that's impressive. Because these kids now, okay, so that was the instructors, 55
Yeah.
seconds?
Yep. I think this year I'd have to check. I think it was a minute 3 for the kids.
I mean, that's impressive.
It is impressive. I mean,
It
I'm going to send you the video, Braxton. These kids are sliding in like they're on NASCAR. I mean, they've got their impacts. It was hilarious. Yeah. And I've got, the Chicago Bulls theme song playing on the, and the parents are cheering, and it was so cool. This last year,
Wow.
one of the kids, Brock, it was his first year. He was 12 because we could go 12 to 15. And he was going around and shaking everybody's hand at the end and saying, "Thank you so much. I had a great time." And he had his parents and his sister with him. And his sister is 7, and she looks at me and she goes, "I am coming to Camp Drive, and I will win the pit crew challenge." I was like, yes. She was so cute.
You're going to get something started here.
I hope so. I hope it can inspire other people, and I want to help anybody that wants to do it. Like I said, though, it's a huge undertaking, and you can make it work. You absolutely can. I know we have to shut our shop down for 2 days, and people are worried about, income and stuff. And it's 2 days, but it comes around in tenfold after that. Like you gain customers, and you
Sure, yeah.
gain respect in your community. And these kids' parents are now coming to Black Hills Tire because their kid has such a great time at Camp Drive. And so it all works out in the end.
Yeah. I forget who it was. I think it was Chris Cotton. Do you know Chris Cotton, Auto
I
Fix?
don't. Mm-mm.
Okay. So I think he and I were having a conversation, maybe even on this podcast, about getting involved in your community.
Yes.
And it wasn't always about training with the next generation, but it was, hey, go to events, sponsor local golf tournaments, be involved with what happens. And he was like, that gives you a good reputation. People know you.
Yep.
And it is going to take up a Saturday here and there. It'll
Mm-hmm.
take up a Thursday night to go to events, do whatever, but it gets your name out there. And if you're friendly and you care about and don't just do this for the reputation or
No.
for getting more business, but if you actually genuinely care about other people and do this stuff, people notice that you are genuine. And it takes a little extra time, but that extra time and effort, not saying no, it goes a long way for your business, and it really helps your business. And so it doesn't matter if you close for 2 days, because in the long run, you actually come out better.
Absolutely. So last week, Friday, we had a trunk or treat at our shop. We invited a bunch of customers and family that have classic cars, and we invited the community, and we, had little kids come, and they trick or treated around these classic cars. And someone came and like DJ'd and we had music and I had 400 kids. I ran out of candy and it
Wow.
was insane. And two of the kids that came to Camp Drive, they came and helped park cars and they're not old enough to work for me, but they came and parked cars and they just wanted to participate and be with my staff. And I think that that just was the coolest thing ever. So, yeah.
How large of a shop is Black Hills Tire?
So we have 8 bays and we currently have 13 employees.
How
So
many techs?
I have 5 full-time techs and then I have 3 part-time that are going to Western Dakota, the local community college.
So, I mean, that's a pretty good size for your area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yep. We started with 3 and 6, and in 6 years now we're up to 16 and 13 employees.
Now, so you kind of mentioned that this is one of the staff's favorite couple of days of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Was that consistent from the start?
Yes.
When you first mentioned this, they were all bought in.
Yep. Yep. I that my staff doesn't tell me no very often. I'm very lucky.
They've learned to not.
They usually know when I have an idea. It's usually like a big idea. So I just brought it up to them and I just said, "Hey, I want to do a camp and for kids, and I want them to be able to come in and I want them to take a set of brakes apart and put them back together. I want to have a big screen with the scope and you can show them how you can hook up a computer to your car and almost make it like a video game. And I want them to weld. Like, how cool is welding?" And they just took it and they ran and they had all these wonderful ideas. And then I told them like, "Hey, you have 2 weeks to come back with your what you want to do." And the ideas they had and the things that they could come up with, like Adrian, he had the scope session and he was like, "I'm going to have races on the wheel speed sensor that they can spin the wheel and they can watch the screen and the graph from the oscilloscope, and then we're going to see who has the fastest one and we're going to have a competition." I mean, it was the coolest thing. I mean, they all did that. They all had these wonderful ideas.
So it's you said age 15 to 17?
12 to 15.
12 to 15.
Yep. I
So you go ahead.
I was just saying I did a lot of research and it seems to me like that's the age where you kind of start to like get them hooked.
Hmm.
That's the age that they start to kind of discover their interests, their likes and dislikes. And if you get any older than that, it seems like they're in, summer baseball or they already have a job and so they can't take time away to come. So,
Well, where I was going with that was, you know, obviously that's the age where in today's world, gaming is a big deal.
yes.
Uh, and I just wonder, I've never really had this thought before, but I just, 15, 20 years ago, cars were cars. Now cars are computers.
Yep.
I wonder if there's more interest from the younger generation because of the technology that's in cars, because it's not just turning wrenches anymore. There's so much with the technology that exists within, Do you think that maybe is part
Yep.
of it too?
I do. And we really promote that. We talk a lot to these kids that, on our Camp Drive website, we kind of explain like each session, like what it's going to be about. And we really, really talk about that. Even like the alignment session, they talk a lot about how with these sensors that are in cars now, even if you align them, you have to reset the steering angle sensor that you didn't have to used to do. And so yeah, we really promote that a lot. Now, the brakes are probably the favorite of all the kids because they love to. We built brake stands, so each kid has their own stand, and they take the rotors and the calipers and all that off. So I think that's probably one of their favorite. But it was really cool. Last year, I was talking to a kid, and he goes, "Did you know that they used to do alignments with string?" And now you guys have this really cool fancy machine. And he was just fascinated by that. And so Andrew, my tech that teaches the alignment sessions, he's like, "I don't know, maybe next year I just have like a couple things, the string out to show them." I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's a great idea." So they
Yeah.
can see the advancement and how things have changed. So
Yeah.
yeah,
How much does it cost for kids to go?
$140. And if you cannot afford that, we have businesses in town that are willing to sponsor students, participants. So I don't let that deter anybody. We
Yeah.
have lots of businesses in town that are willing to help. I don't want to turn a kid away because their parents can't afford it. So
I
I'll
mean,
pay for it. I'll pay for it if I have to.
you're not going to take no for an answer.
That's right. That's right.
If you want to come, you're coming.
That's right. Yep. And it's hard because I hate turning those kids away. So registration opens on our website April 1st, and I just take the first 40 that sign up, and then the other two, everybody else I call personally and just say, you're on the waiting list. If something opens up, I'll let you know. But
Yeah. What is your max capacity?
40.
40.
And we decided this year, like 40 has to be max. We cannot take on any more. Cause I'm always like, well, maybe if we did this, we could fit a few more. And we were like, no, 40 was what we were full with 40.
And you want to have it at your shop. I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
you don't want to have to
Absolutely.
go somewhere else.
No, it works really well having it here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yep. But yeah,
Well, this is
so
really great. Obviously this podcast is called Good News in Auto Repair, and kind of the whole idea uh, with Lucas and I kind of brainstorming this podcast was to share the good news of what happens around the industry, because it doesn't get talked about. I mean, good news doesn't get talked about anywhere,
anywhere, no.
But especially in automotive, where the perception is a greasy old guy with a gray beard that cusses a lot.
Yep.
I mean, it's out
And
there, that happens, but that's so not the norm now.
no,
And
and
so
that's
that's
what we're
kind of the idea, is to highlight stuff like this and to find the people that don't take no for an answer, because it's helping the industry move forward. And that's Lucas's podcast, Changing the Industry. We're trying
that's
to change
awesome.
it. And you
Yep.
guys are part of it too,
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're super blessed, and we wouldn't be giving a service back if we weren't sharing our blessings.
Mm.
And so that's kind of what we believe in, not just Camp Drive, but giving back in our community. Black Hills Tire, we're just celebrating our 6-year anniversary tomorrow. November 1st of 2018 was when we opened the
Just
doors.
6 years?
Yeah, and so
Wow.
in that 6 years, we've given away over $150,000 back to our community, whether it's the sponsors of your sports team or the local women's shelter in town or the food pantry, whatever it is. And then our scholarships that we do at Western Dakota Tech for the Build Dakota program. But if we didn't do that, our community has wrapped their arms around Black Hills Tire and supported us and our dream. So we have to give back to our community and thank them
Yeah.
by doing these things. So that's kind of what we believe.
So I think obviously there's a need for more shops to do Camp Drive.
Mm-hmm.
What Obviously people, I'm sure, can reach out to you and ask questions, but what kind of
Absolutely.
advice would you have? Just
I
don't say
think,
no.
yeah, don't say no. And I think the biggest thing is to believe in the younger generation. These kids, I tell you what, every single kid the last 2 years that has attended Camp Drive, they melt your heart. And they're good kids. You just have to keep them busy. I know everybody's like, oh, this younger generation, oh, they just want attention and they just want to be kept busy. And so we just kept them busy. They didn't have a break. And I think that kept them so engaged and out of trouble. Talk to them like an adult. I think that's the big thing. Just believe in those kids. They're not bad kids. Oh, the
Well,
other thing is,
it's just like the automotive industry. 2 or 3 bad apples make the whole industry look bad.
yep,
And there's every generation has some lazy people.
yes,
Every
yes,
generation. But that doesn't mean the entire
absolutely.
generation's that way.
No,
There's
no.
some
I
good
mean,
kids. There's some good 12 to 15-year-olds that really have a good work ethic. They do.
yes. And are excited and interested and they listen and they're funny. The first year we did Camp Drive, we had one kid, he did not want to get out of his dad's car. Like his dad pulled him out of the car. And I thought, oh boy, we are going to have a problem with this one. So I kind of just let all my people know, like, hey, keep an eye on this kid over, he's looking like he might cause a few trouble. His
Yep.
first session was engines on a run stand. And they handed him like a spark plug or something like that and let him put it into the engine. And his eyes lit up and he was the first one there the next morning. He was running out of his dad's car and he's like, which session do I get to go to first today? Like, he was a completely different kid. It was
Wow.
amazing. And then afterwards, he took his parents around and introduced him to everybody. And it was so cool. So cool. The other thing is take their cell phones away. So they are not allowed to have their cell phones at Camp Drive. We take them, put them in a basket. I put them aside. If there's an emergency or they need it for whatever reason, they can come to me and I'll give it to them. They do what they need to do and then they put it back. Nobody came and got their phones once. They're so busy, so excited to be doing what they were doing. They could have cared less about their cell phones. So,
What else have we not talked about that you want to mention about camp? I mean, I know there's probably
uh,
2 hours worth, but
yeah.
what else?
Oh gosh, I'm sure. I'm sure Weston could have come up with a bunch
When
of
is it
things.
next year?
It is June. It's always the first week in June. Let me get you the date here. Um, it is June 6th and 7th.
June 6th and 7th.
Yep. So it's all day the 6th and then half a day the 7th.
Okay.
And that's really, really a good enough time frame. Like,
Yeah, to
I
get
think that's,
to spark some interest.
yeah. And we keep all the sessions. That's the other thing probably too, is make sure you keep all the sessions fairly short. These kids are, 12 to 15. They got short attention spans. So we do everything about 45 to 50 minutes.
We all got short attention spans, Tenise.
Yes. Yes.
We all do.
Uh, but
And blasted phones do
yeah,
it
I
to all of
know.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Um,
So for most kids that show up, have they had interest before? Does a family member work in the automotive space, or are some totally green that just, oop, wait a
I
minute.
think it, okay.
Or are some totally green that come in
It's
and
about 50
yeah,
50.
okay.
Yep. About half of the kids, they come in and had some type of, they've used some type of tool before. Their grandpa was a mechanic. And then some of them come in and they're like, my dad has no clue how to do anything and I want to learn. Or, my buddy signed up, so I signed up. And then they find out they really love it, that kind of thing. So I'd say it's about 50 50.
Okay. But then after this, I mean, you probably have a good bit of interest.
It is. And I guess what my biggest goal is I don't want anybody leaving Camp Drive an expert in anything. I want to give them just enough exposure that they said automotive technology is cool. Black Hills Tire people are cool. Being an automotive technician is a desirable, honorable trade and job and career. I want to do that when I grow up. Or they might come and think, I wanted to be a technician and I decided that that's not really for me. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go find something else in my life. At least they got to see that before they, got into it and knew they wanted to do it and realized that wasn't for them.
Right.
It's like me. I know that I can never be a nurse because I can't stand the sight of blood. So, maybe they'll figure that out.
Well, this is really great because so many kids go through middle school, high school, and kind of have an idea of what their interests are. But once they get to college, I mean, you just don't know. Or
No.
if you don't go to college, you still don't have much of a clue. So kind of starting
Right.
at like that 12, 13-year-old age
Mm.
is a good time to at least get out there and try some stuff so that you have an idea when you get to
Yeah.
that time. So you don't end up going to college and majoring in the wrong thing or, whatever.
Yep.
Finding out that you can't stand blood, but you're already 3 years into nursing.
Right. Exactly. I was lucky enough the end of September to meet Mike Rowe. He came out to the community college here in Rapid City for
Okay.
a function, and we got to have a little one-on-one chat with him. And he made a comment that he said that all of these industries that are needing workers for the next 5 to 10 years, he said they got to start with the kids in seventh and eighth grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's what we're doing at Camp Drive. Like, that's our goal. So it was kind of cool.
Be careful. Mike Rowe might highlight you on his next documentary.
That would be super cool.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be really cool. But
Well, Tenise, thank you for coming on and just kind of talking about what you're doing with, Black Hills Tire and Camp Drive, because it's really good news. And that's what I want
thank you.
to highlight. So you guys are awesome and keep doing what you're
Thanks.
doing.
Thanks. And if you ever want to come out to Mount Rushmore and check out Camp Drive, we'd love to have you. So
Can you get me a camper?
I can get you a camper or a hotel room or a cabin if you're not a camper.
Uh, I'll just room with Paul Danner in the camper, and we'll
There you
go
go.
see Mount Rushmore.
Perfect.
Well, thanks, Denise. I
Yes,
appreciate it.
thanks for having me. Have a good day.
You too.